and all these vertical business vertical business integrations that we can see for Ethereum and layer 2s in general. First of all, what is Ethereum? I understand that most of you all already know a lot about Web3, and I don't want to get like super into the basics, but I do want to make sure that everyone who might not be completely sure ends up understanding the concept. So I think of Ethereum as the most or the safest highway in the world. So Ethereum, imagine that blockchains are highways or streets. I would think of Ethereum as the most secure one in the whole world. Ethereum, not only the most secure one, but the most decentralized one. The only issue is that these—
Oh, sorry, Josh, I have to interrupt you. Did you have some PowerPoint you have to demonstrate? You can share the screen.
Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah.
So most of my— I'm a very talkative person. Like I usually don't bring any type of PowerPoints or etc. to classes, but I can for sure show a little bit of what I'm talking about. 1 second. So imagine we're talking this. Imagine this is Ethereum, the most like a highway, a bridge. Like people can go through alternate routes, like the one that we have back here, but they choose to use the most secure, decentralized, and in theory, fast alternative. But what happens? This alternative is not always fast or is not always efficient. If we think of Ethereum or the blockchain as one of these highways, most of the time, at some point in the highway, you have to pay some type of fee, some type of pay toll. This would be the Ethereum transaction fee. And most of the time, we're going to see individual vehicles like these ones going through a street. And during peak hours or rush hours, we're just going to see the whole avenue, the whole bridge or infrastructure just filled up with cars. And yes, it's still secure, it's still decentralized in a way, but why, or is it still being efficient? Is it still being scalable? And the answer is no. When Ethereum was created, there was a famous blockchain trilemma that I'm going to share real quick in here with y'all. And the blockchain trilemma talks about how a blockchain can be secure, decentralized, and scalable. And not the end point is that there's no blockchain that is born with them all. All blockchains end up facing this little blockchain trilemma in which they have to choose two. They have to choose either to be decentralized and scalable, to be scalable and secure, or to be secure and decentralized. But usually they cannot choose the three. And that's where Ethereum layer 2s come in. That's where projects like Metis, Optimism, Arbitrum, even Polygon come in and step up, bringing their scalable or their scalability infrastructure in play. What does this, or what are these layer 2s? If we relate them to the concept or the idea that we're talking of about the highway and infrastructure, this would be an alternative lane added to this highway. Why would this, like, what would be the point of this alternative lane for the highway? Allowing all this traffic, all these users that are using the secure and scalable, like the secure and decentralized highway, but are not having an efficient experience, not being able to get from point A to point B in a scalable, kind of like in a fast or economic manner, then we habilitate this alternative lane, allowing people or transactions to go in collective transportation.
Yeah, sorry, just have to interrupt you again. So maybe you're also stop your PPT now. We can't see your PPT.
Oh yeah, I didn't have a PowerPoint. I'm just elaborating. I was telling earlier that I don't really use PowerPoints. I was just showing images to facilitate some of the things that they were saying.
Got it. Nice. And secondly, you can like you can open your video now. We're sorry about the host, maybe the function, the setup problem. So if you are open to like you can open the video. Yeah, thank you. That will be very nice for the interaction. Yeah, thank you. Please continue. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, as I was saying, the point of these layer twos are being this alternative lane that facilitates getting from point A to point B, taking advantage of the security and the scalability provided by these basic infrastructure or by Ethereum, the base highway, while also allowing for a way faster experience from point A to point B. Why does it allow for it? Because since it's batching up transactions or allowing for a collective transportation, there's no traffic, and the fee that we were just talking about, instead of being paid by every single vehicle, ends up being paid by the collective vehicle. So split up among all the passengers, all the transactions. That's why every transaction, whenever you transact in any layer two, either Metis, Optimism, Arbitrum, Polygon, it's going to be way less expensive, because all these transactions are batched up and are sent in a way in which it takes advantage of Ethereum scalability, not Ethereum security, decentralization, and utilizes this layer two scalability or these layer two functionalities. Since all these are scaling platforms, that's what Ethereum and layer twos are in a way. I mean, I use the highway or the street metaphor, but these are all networks that process all type of transactions and facilitate a Web3 economy, pretty much. So how could we really build or what, since we have the base infrastructure, what things do you think would still be missing for a Web3 economy? Because we have the infrastructure or the channel in which all this can take place, but we're still missing the consumers, we're still missing the producers or the actual businesses that are offering any type of service product. So here's where other verticals can be integrated or worked on. I'm guessing a lot of people in here are familiar with DAOs. Please leave a little yes in the chat. I just want to see a few yes if you are familiar with DAOs. If no, no worries. Decentralized autonomous organizations. Awesome. I see that some of you are familiar with DAOs. Also, we're also going to be talking about a important concept called soulbound tokens. Soulbound tokens are non-transferable NFTs. These are very interesting as these have the potential to change DeFi and crypto Web3 in general in a lot of ways. Perfect. In the chat, you can see that anyone can interact with the speaker. Anyone can and I'm the speaker, by the way. So anyone can interact. Anyone, please, I would love hearing questions, hearing comments. This is y'all's class. This is for everyone. So make it yours. And so going how could we enable this consumer side or this business side? And that's where these, for example, soulbound tokens can come in. Soulbound tokens meaning data authentication platforms or Web3 identity platforms. By creating these Web3 identity or Web3 credentials, we can enable a lot of functionalities, use cases that were previously only available in Web2 or that were only allowed by or offered by centralized entities in Web3. Some of these being able to give these people an on-chain identity for interacting with projects and earning any type of on-chain reputation. A lot of these, or another of these being at some point or through in Web3, one of the main reasons why we don't see regular type of loans like we see outside is because of asset volatility and lack of credentials. In Web3, all these loans have to be over collateralized because you don't know like if the assets are going to go up or down in price and you don't know who you're dealing with. So if we scratch or we provide the on-chain credential, on-chain identity for people to actually incorporate credentials here, and we start dealing with stable coins, for example, we can get to a point in which we can offer under collateralized loans, tapping into viable and competitive alternatives to traditional financial systems, traditional offerings that we've seen in the industries. And there's also potential for all these contributions, achievements, milestones like done by users, like the way we've seen, for example, reward programs in real life, the way we've seen benefits to going to loyal customers or etc. All these can enabled also by these soulbound tokens, non-transferable NFTs, allowing for a lot more use cases than we've seen as of right now in Web3. By the way, feel free to interrupt or raise hand or comment in the chat at any time. Also, this is how we could enable some type of consumer side on Web3. And on the business side or the DAOs side, DAOs are fantastic, but a lot of times DAOs are still missing structure. For example, how do we control who should have access to what information? How do we control who should be able to get permissions to what or contracted or assign which task or etc. So if we implement frameworks for these DAOs or tooling for these DAOs for organizations to be able to perform their day-to-day operations as well, we can cover on this business side, we can cover on providing the necessary tooling functionalities for organization to perform all these day-to-day operations in a immutable, decentralized, and at some point trustless manner. A lot of these processes, these businesses have inefficiencies in traditional ways. A lot of things can be obfuscated or could be not 100% transparent, which can be bad for business owners or the people leading the business. All these things can be facilitated or can be clarified when in the blockchain, if you have the right tooling. So providing the right tooling for these organizations, meaning treasury management, task management, also whatnot, contracting, permissions, what we were just talking about, can enable any of these DAOs as of right now, or in a future organizations that want to come or transition from Web2 to Web3, to really perform these day-to-day operations in a seamless manner. So if we add this base layer or layer 2s that we were talking about at the beginning, providing the scalability and making it cheap to interact with platforms, smart contracts, everything, we also add this on-chain identity and giving each consumer like a room for, first of all, consumer and producer to really create some type of on-chain reputation, credentials, build up this reputation in a way in which they can take advantage of it or take benefits from it. And also we build this business side. We can end up having a Web3 economy or a medium for all these businesses, users to interact seamlessly on top of the blockchain. Of course, while also having all type of decentralized applications, DeFi, NFTs, gaming, pretty much everything. So I'm not sure if there's any questions as of right now. I have talked a lot, so I want to hear anything from Elaine, either from you or from any of the students.
Yeah, could you maybe introduce more about what's the difference of Metis layer 2 between others? Maybe it will be helpful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if we go to the technical side, Metis started as a fork from Optimism, and Metis upgraded the technology in a way in which we were able to lower transaction fees to the lowest among any Ethereum layer 2s. So that makes it very suitable for any type of applications, specifically high throughput applications that might be expensive to run, might not be either like any expensive at all to run in Metis because of the low fees, while also conserving the security and the decentralization of Ethereum on the long run. As of right now, as all other layer 2s, Metis is still in not fully developed. There's certain things like fraud proofs that are being developed in all layer 2s, not only Metis, but we provide the lowest fees among any layer 2. We also have a lot of like a very big DeFi ecosystem that allows for other applications to compose on top of this. And just like we were mentioning before about on-chain credentials and tooling for DAOs, we build what we believe will help bring the next billion users to Web3. And we believe that is creating or allowing for a user consumer experience and also for a builder experience. So we are providing this on-chain credential framework as of right now, enabling, like, for example, when builders or producers, let's say that they build a reputation on Uber or on Amazon, either as a driver or as a seller or in any platform. If they move to a different platform, all that reputation, all that data is gone pretty much. They cannot use it in another platform. Or if they get in a fight, for example, with that platform, all that data can be deleted and they cannot do anything about it because that data is not theirs. It's from the platform per se. In here, we're building a framework or a layer 2 that has the lowest fees among any layer 2. We're also providing a framework for users to own their own data. And we're providing a lot of tooling for DAOs and organizations to perform their day-to-day operations, as well as helping decentralized applications as much as possible to build their product in Metis. So I would say the combination of all these three, combined with our clear mission, our clear goal, instead of only being a layer 2, is what differentiates us from other layer 2s, Elaine. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. I think the students here maybe would like to see maybe some graphical, some picture or some comparison, which is maybe better to explain. If it's possible, if you have some maybe some small deck, one page. Maybe you can introduce more about Mattis. That would be much better. Okay, my question's finished. And there's Seven ask, what do you think about the future of layer 2 expansions projects while Ethereum's all upgraded?
Yeah. Okay. Let me look up for that graphic. And for now, in terms of what I think about the future of layer 2 expansion after Ethereum is all done, I think layer 2s are gonna expand even more once Ethereum is all done, because I believe Ethereum will just be a global settlement layer. Like all layer 2s are gonna take the computational burden, or they are gonna be the layer in which all computations, all the heavy, the heavy kind of like computations are taking place, and Ethereum is just going to be the chain in which all these blocks or all these transactions are settled, so that it's way cheaper for the end user, and so that the network or Ethereum itself also remains not clogged or not full of transactions, so that the network can run smoothly, if that makes sense. I believe layer 2s will still be a key part of Ethereum's growth, simply because if all these transactions weren't batched up and then sent to Ethereum, we would be talking about so many blocks and transactions in Ethereum that maybe the network at some point could even be unusable. So layer 2s are still going to be a key part of these layer 2s, or if not, we would just like thinking like we said about the highway and the street, and how it's not a like it's secure, decentralized, but users can get from point A to point B. It will be the same. It would be secure, decentralized, even cheap. But if it's too cheap and everyone's using it, maybe it gets too clogged and you just can't get from one point to another. So if it becomes unusable, it loses its purpose. So layer 2s are gonna remain here. Like they're here for long. Yeah, and the graphic, 1 second, Elaine, because I focus on the question.
Yeah, no worries.
So this is the Metis ecosystem as of right now. This is what we were just talking about, the fees in layer 2s. Many of these others have fees that are relatively cheap. It's relatively cheap to send transactions in any layer 2s, where we can send that we can see that it is 2 cents to send a transaction or to send Ethereum in Metis. To swap a token, 15 cents. So it's pretty much nothing at all. We can see some of the bridges over here, wallets that we have in the ecosystem, some of the dApps, mainly DeFi, GameFi, education, some of the NFTs, DAOs. This is the tooling that we were talking about. For example, Aragon and Chorus are 2 of the main applications offering these tooling services for DAOs or for any type of organization that is trying to perform their operations in the blockchain. Let me see. I see that there's another question. Well, they ask, what is going to be the future, optimistic rollup or CK rollup? I cannot answer that question. I ain't no guru, and I cannot predict the future. But I do think that both of them have very important features. For example, optimistic rollups have faster confirmation time. As soon as you perform a transaction, you see the little message saying your transaction has been confirmed. And it is EVM compatible. So it makes it very developer friendly and user friendly, like to just integrate it with Ethereum. But zero knowledge or CK rollups are more censorship resistant, are more secure, and have faster finality time. The fact that the optimistic rollup shows you a message immediately like, oh, your transaction has been confirmed, doesn't mean that it's been finalized. For it to be finalized, it has to be irreversible and it has to be submitted in Ethereum. So Ethereum, like, or the CK rollups, submit it in Ethereum really quick, finalize it really quick. The optimistic rollups don't. So both have good things, both have serve relatively bad things. The only thing, or what we believe is going to be the best, is combining both. Combining both, because if they both have great things, what if we could just have a optimistic rollup architecture with zero knowledge proofs that can help us bring that censorship resistance, security, and also fast finality time to optimistic rollups. We believe that will be the ideal. So that's actually what we are building in Metis. We're building hybrid rollups as of right now. Like we already announced it, the product is not live yet, but it's supposed to go live late in the year or very early next year. Let's see if you want to watch live capture some chat overview. I don't know if there's any other question. I see that people are now engaging a little bit more in the chat, and I love it. So absolutely, absolutely. What is a roll-up? Roll-up is pretty much, we can think about roll-ups the same way as we can think about the layer twos, how we explain them with the highway analogy. These roll-ups are a secondary blockchain that takes advantage or is built on top of Ethereum in this case. This blockchain utilizes Ethereum security, Ethereum decentralization, but it helps Ethereum process a lot more transactions. How can it help Ethereum process all these transactions? By enabling or by providing that separate lane that we talked about, or by just like, which means wrapping up a lot of transactions into one batch and sending them all together to the main chain. Instead of submitting one transaction, then one transaction, then one transaction, the layer two or the roll-up rolls them up, like literally, like if it was rolling them, roll them up in a ball. You can think of it as a ball. Thinks of it like throws this ball of transactions to the mainnet Ethereum, and that batch or ball of transactions is submitted. And the fees that every transaction would be paying is divided among all these ball of transactions. So rollups take advantage of Ethereum decentralization and security, while also making it very efficient for transactions to be submitted into Ethereum. Very efficient and cost friendly because it becomes very cheap. Any questions? Absolutely. 1 second. So Elaine, I am going to show a graphic showing some of the different types of layer 2 technologies, but we don't have a graph comparing with other layer 2 projects per se, which I think it's what you meant. So I'm gonna show you the one that we do have. Okay. I'm zooming in, so it might be a little pixel, but this is what we have right now. For example, this is being compared like Validium, Plasma, optimistic rollups, CK rollups, Smart L2s. Smart L2 is actually what Metis uses. Metis is an optimistic rollup, but a little upgraded. As you can see, it can scale smart contracts, like cost of gas will keep decreasing over time, and on-chain data is only used or only completely submitted when needed. So this alleviates a lot of the cost that rollups still have in terms of performing operations, and it has same features or same upsides as optimistic rollups, but making it more cost efficient while maintaining security. Did that help, Elaine? I see the last question, although I'm not sure. I'm not really sure which one is the Cancun upgrade. I have read a little bit about it. I've heard something like it's related with Shanghai, although not really sure what's in it. So I don't want to be giving out misinformation in that sense. I'm sorry, saying. Any other question that we might have, though? I'd be happy to answer any question that like whose answer or to which I do know the answer. I just don't want to answer questions in which I might be giving out misinformation. I would rather just abstain and let you all do that research part. Elaine, while we see if any other participants have any questions, I don't know if you might have any other topic that you want to cover or any other questions that you might want me to answer. Please let me know. In theory, yes. Depending on to what extent you peng, but in theory, yes. Like you can run it in pretty much like any blockchain. So, and to what extent or all the types of AI algorithms that you might be able to run, I'm not sure, but like you can. And in layer 2s, like that will be the case. We even have a DEX aggregator in Metis, which utilizes AI algorithms to like for pathfinding and to figuring out what's the most efficient route per se. Do you think the completion of Ethereum 2.0 upgrade will pose a threat to those layer 2 projects? No, I don't believe so. I believe that completion of Ethereum 2.0 will actually bring a lot of attention to Ethereum. And for Ethereum to remain usable in the long term, it will need layer 2s. Because Ethereum, what is being done pretty much, it's adding more space to Ethereum. Yes, it makes it more efficient, but also it's still not a permanent solution per se. The network can still be clogged or filled up if all these transactions are processed in Ethereum instead of in a layer 2. By keeping all the computation and most of the data outside or off chain, not most of the data, but all this computation off chain, you make it way easier for the network, you make it way more usable, and you maintain demand on a level which makes sense. For example, network prices or fees in Ethereum are a product of supply and demand. If there's a lot of people using the network, like everyone is trying to process transactions in Ethereum, prices of transactions or the fees are going to go up. And when instead of these transactions being hundreds of blocks, they're just one block being sent from layer 2 to layer 1, then it lowers or decreases the usage in theory a little bit and helps the network to maintain or to stay usable. That makes sense. It keeps fees at a usable kind of like range. If it wasn't because L2s, this would change a lot. But I believe Ethereum will be the settlement layer for all these layer 2s, all these applications and whatnot. I hope that answers the question. 7.5. And yeah, Elaine, in terms of the course outline, I mean, the thing that I mostly wanted to cover was Ethereum or how to think about Ethereum, like layer 2s, what types of verticals could be paired up with layer 2s or with these scalable blockchains in order to really onboard businesses, to really enable a proper user experience. So most of what I wanted to cover, I did cover, but I am very interested in answering all the questions that there might be. And if there's anything that wasn't explained as clear, of course, I would also be pleased to answer any questions about it or even to re-explain it if it wasn't clear enough. What layer 2 projects should we focus on now? And the reason, well, Chuck, I cannot answer that question. I cannot answer on what layer 2 projects you should be focusing in, but I am giving this class today on behalf of Metis. So I definitely recommend you to check out Metis if you haven't. We're analyzing a layer 2 project. Absolutely. I would be looking at its ecosystem. First of all, kind of like what's been the growth or in general or number of wallets in the ecosystem, active wallets as well, how active or how used, how is the growth looking for all the projects inside the ecosystem as well, number of transactions in the ecosystem. Like there's a lot of things to take in consideration. It depends on what type of analysis you're doing. I would say that these little like stats or pieces of info that I just mentioned would help you determine how if an ecosystem it's already gonna like for example grown and very active, or even figure out if there is a up and coming ecosystem that you can figure out like, okay, like I see a pattern here, this ecosystem has been growing a lot. I see that it has added whatever percent in active wallets, transactions have grown too, something's going on, for example. I think that's to analyze any blockchain, really. Yeah, no worries, Yupeng. Thank you all. I don't know if there might be any other question. I think we still have a few more minutes. So if there's any question you might have, feel free to do it now. This is the time. Oof, there's several 7.5, like some good alternatives. Like for example, we like at Metis, like on our social medias and even on our website, we do have a lot of educational content. Like usually during the weekends, we post. We used to have Tech Thursdays. Now we're rebranding it into Tech Diaries, and we're gonna do it throughout the weekends. We know that a lot of people is busy during the week, so we're gonna start putting educational content during the weekends in our social media. We have a knowledge page in our also in our webpage, which can help you to figure out a lot of stuff in the layer 2 landscape, a lot of concepts. For example, I know that Polygon and Optimism also have good education programs in their respective websites. So there's a lot of resources like all around. I would say a very trusted or reliable resource would also be to go into Ethereum, like ethereum.org, and read about layer 2s or different types of technology in there. And programs, I mean, I guess for dApps, maybe if that's also what we're talking about, there's also a lot of programs in the market. For example, I know in Metis, we have a grant program, investment program, and also kind of like a retroactive funding program for projects based on performance. So there's a lot of opportunities for projects that are launching in Metis. In Optimism, that is another layer 2, they also have this retroactive funding program in which projects can get funded, I think, on a quarterly basis. And I'm pretty sure in Polygon, there's also a room, or you can also find these, or some type of program that projects can take advantage of. If you want to learn a little bit more about the Metis retroactive funding program that I was mentioning, it's called Builder Mining Rewards. Awesome. It seems like most of the question have been answered. Can layer 2 improve the real-time performance algorithm? So Yupeng, to your question, I'm not sure if the layer 2 per se would be able to improve the performance of this AI algorithm. I think the AI algorithm can like the layer 2 can provide the base or the base layer for this algorithm to be run on top of type of thing. But I am not completely sure, like that's a little bit like beyond my knowledge if the layer 2 would actually be able to improve its performance per se. My answer would be that to some degree, maybe yes, but I'm not sure that like I'm not sure it would have a huge difference. Is what I'm saying. Most of the focus would be on the algorithm per se. What do you think of Oasis Origin? If I'm honest, I am not sure about what is Oasis Origin. So I would need a little bit more information to answer that question. But I do think SocialFi will, not sure if in that angle, kind of like in SocialFi, but I do think that kind of like on-chain socials and social credentials will have a huge role on onboarding the next billion users. that on-chain identity that facilitates and helps you build that reputation and build on top of your accomplishments in Web3, it would bring a completely different experience and good experience to participants in the space. Well, I wouldn't say, or I don't really want to give my opinion on how to decide what kind of layer 2 projects are good and whatnot. But I would say one always have to read the documentation. First of all, one have to read the documentation before you do anything, because that's how you really learn what differentiates the project from other projects, what are the good things from the project, or what even might be missing. In the documentation, also, you're going to find any potential red flags. If you see that there is documentation missing, that it is not accurate, that something is wrong, or etc., like then you might have to start wondering. So reading documentation is very important. I think that will help you determine what layer 2 you may feel more oriented to, or more related to, what layer 2s you may think that make more sense. But also what we were talking about, like figuring out or looking what applications have launched in X layer 2, what is the current activity in X layer 2. This type of stats or integrations or etc. can also help you figure out a lot about layer 2s. By the way, I'm sorry if you all are listening to my dog in the background. It's just a very active dog. So sir, I'm sorry for the barking. As a student, how can we dive deep into learning chain development, not just smart contracts for that? Where can we start first? There are not like countless alternatives in terms of where to learn. You can either take paid options as, I don't know, like Udemy, for example, or you can go to, I think it's Code Camp or something like that, Academy. There's free alternatives, paid up alternatives. There's like thousands of alternatives. So I'm not gonna recommend one. I would recommend check them out, check out the reviews, see maybe what course aligns more with what you want to do specifically, and you can go from there. Awesome. Thank you very much for all these questions. We have just a few more minutes, so pretty much like wrapping it up. So if there's any last question, this is your time. This is the moment. Elaine, also, of course, like thank you very much for inviting me and for having me here. I don't know if you have anything else you might want to add, any last topic or question you might have for me.
Okay, just you as you're the background of marketing, could you maybe share us how the layer 2s to expand their ecosystem?
Absolutely. I think that layer 2s are expanding their ecosystem by sharing Ethereum's ethos. The layer 2s that have been growing the most are those that are really focused on contributing and collaborating with each other. Most of these ecosystem grows because of internal collaborations between applications, between the community, between everything. And we or layer 2s in general need that collaboration in order to grow. And of course, from a marketing perspective, amplifying all the good things, amplifying all the work that is being done, amplifying all those small achievements and of course large achievements. And I think that by facilitating, or the most important thing I think will be facilitating or giving users a Web2-like experience in Web3, in the sense as making it so easy to use that they don't even know that they're using Web3. So easy that they think it's just kind of like a regular application that they're using. I think once we close out, or once we eliminate that gap between the Web3 user experience and Web2 user experience, that's going to be the moment in which we're going to see those million users or billion users coming here to Web3. And from a marketing perspective, it's just making them feel at home, making them identify or relate with what we're building, with the ethos of what we're building, and of course with the applications that we have in our ecosystem. Awesome. I think I have questions. Yeah, absolutely. So my Twitter handle, I'm gonna leave it here in the chat, is Jose, like Jose, like my name here in the video, Jose Fabrega B. Boom. I'm writing it in the chat. And also the Metis Twitter handle is Metis DAO. We also invite you all to join our Telegram channel, Discord channels. You can find all of them like through Twitter or in our webpage as well. And we have very active communities. We have a lot of educational campaigns and activities. If you have any question whatsoever about layer 2, about Metis, about what we've talked about today, feel 100% free to come and ask any questions either on my DMs, on the communities, like the Metis communities, or even in Twitter. Like, we're always welcoming any questions and any participation. So thank you very much, everyone, for participating here today, for your time. Thank you, Elaine and Waterdrip, for inviting us from Metis to give this presentation. And I hope this was useful for most of you all. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay, just you already finished the. Okay, thank you for your time. OK，谢谢大家时间。然后的话，想提醒一下，前面2次的课程的话，我们都会每一次课程都会有那个课后的一个录屏。然后的话，课后的作业请大家及时的去做。然后，同时的话，我们也是会提醒一下组长的话，也让大家就是去记录一下。每组同学的一个课后和上勤的情况啊，然后请助教同学一起帮忙去做一下。好的，那谢谢今天大家的时间，那我们今天的课程就到此结束，哎，再见，拜拜。